Welcome to the Learning Lab Instructor Edition. Here is where you can come to get help with your Mahjong teaching practice. You can ask about group dynamics, lesson planning. You could ask any questions about the game, whether it be the rules, sportsmanship, etiquette, strategy. We're here to help. Today, I've selected a topic that piggybacks on last week's topic because it's about lesson planning. We're going to look at a new methodology. Well, I don't think it's new. It's been there for a while. I don't know how long. I just stumbled on it, so I'm going to share it with you. I think it's a great idea, so I hope that you find it helpful. I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for watching my videos. Also, I want to give a shout out to our moderators. Thank you very much for helping monitor the chat today. So let's see, does anybody have any questions they'd like to start with? Oh, we do have a couple new channel members, Allison and Marion. Thank you very much for supporting MAHJLIFE. So this format, if you're new to the Learning Lab, this format is stream of consciousness. We do have a topic selected, but we're here to meet your needs primarily. So if you have any questions or need any help with anything with your teaching practice, please let us know in the live stream chat. This is why we're here, to help each other. And if nobody has any questions or needs, then we'll do the topic. So, which is about lesson planning. So thank you again for joining me. Say hi in the live stream chat if you like, no pressure. And I am going to get the topic ready just in case we have no questions. We're ready to go. Okay, I don't see any questions right now, but you could keep them coming if something from today's topic triggers a question. Just feel free to put it in the live stream chat and I'll do my best to follow along. Okay, let's see. Laura. Hi, Laura. We have live white squirrel. Oh my gosh, you do. Wow, that's cool. Live white squirrels? Huh. I didn't know there were white squirrels other than our mascot. I thought they were all brown. Okay, so let me share my screen. Well, no, we're not doing screen sharing. What am I talking about? No presentations unless the topic is in depth, but for the most part, we just chit chat and I share a new topic or concept or methodology, which is what we're doing today. And then I may share my screen. I will likely share my screen because I think we're going to use ChatGPT today. I think we could do an object lesson with ChatGPT. So let me get that ready. And let's see, go to the Learning Lab. Let me see here. How shall I do this? I'll just create a new chat. Let's see. The topic for today is called Time Smart Teaching. Incidentally, if you want to follow along, you can because it is live in the Resource Center. I've changed the name of our Resource Center. It's called the Learning Lab Instructor Edition Resource Center. I think that's what I called it. Let me just look real quick. And then I'm going to show you how to get to it. Resource Hub. It's called the Resource Hub, but it's live there now. Let me just show you how to get to it. Okay, so I'll share my screen. You just saw that it's putting out a new card. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well, we'll see what happens there. I also saw another group that is starting a new card as well. This one is called the Mahjong Press. The Mahjong Press. So if Oh My Mahjong is putting on a new card. So is the Mahjong Press. And that's supposed to go out in November. As far as I know, neither of these will be online. They will just be for in-person play. So we'll see. And as far as either of these rivaling the National Mahjong League card, that remains to be seen. Because the National Mahjong League has 350,000 members. I don't know if they'll ever have any rivals. I mean, I suppose at some point they might, but all right. So let me share my screen. I'm going to show you how to get to the resource hub, especially if you're new. So let me go here and share this with you. Let's see, where is my, this is not what I'm looking for here. Hold on, cancel. Let's see here. I'll go this way. Okay. Share screen. Here we go. Okay, so here's my website. Right here, you can see my website here. And if you click or hover over instructors in the top menu, and then go down to the Learning Lab, second one down, if you're not logged in as a guild member. If you are logged in as a guild member, you will have exclusive menu items that may change the order of this list, but just look for the Learning Lab. And from there, you're gonna go down to this button, Instructor Edition Content. Instructor Edition Content. And then from there, you'll see the Learning Lab Instructor Edition Resource Hub. And this is a wiki style repository. So it has a search feature where you can type in keywords to find articles, or actually their show notes. I'm calling them show notes of all of our episodes that we do on Thursdays. So if you just type in a keyword here, you'll be able to find articles or show notes for that subject matter. And we'll look at that in a minute. There's event planning, finance, marketing, systems, self-care, and teaching. And then down below, there are 3 filtered blocks: popular articles, newest articles, and recently updated articles. Here's today's topic, time smart teaching. So if you click on that, it will take you to our topic for today. And my plan is to publish the Thursday topic at 11 o'clock on Thursdays. So if you're curious about what the topic is, you could go to this resource hub and type in today's date using the YYYY month day format, 2025-1106 as an example, and you'll find today's topic. Or you can just go to the very bottom to that filtered block under newest articles and click the one right on top, because these will be posted at 11 o'clock on the day of the live stream, which is Thursdays. So this is our topic for today. Now, let's say that you wanted to search for, let's see, well, let me see, we could do, just for ease, I'm going to put lesson plan, because that's what we have in here mostly right now, because this is brand new. So if you type in lesson plan, you're going to see a list of the show notes that apply, or where the word lesson plan is in that document or article or show notes. Oh, episode. They're episode notes. Okay, episode notes. And also in here are lesson case studies. And actually, Kathleen is featured. I made this public. Here is 1 step forward, 2 steps back, lesson case study. And here you'll find an example of something that happened in a lesson that resulted in a lesson learned for the instructor. And if it helped one instructor, it will help more instructors. And so we're going to have lesson case studies published here as well. So if you want to see a bunch of lesson case studies, just type in lesson case study and you'll see a list. Right now, I think we only have 3. Yep, just 3 right now. But I hope that this list will grow. If you have ever had any unusual situation or a situation that happened during a lesson that you think would be helpful to other people, feel free to submit a lesson case study. And incidentally, there is a method for you to do that on this site. So let me show you how to get there. So I'm going to go back to the hub and scroll, main. We'll click main here. And if you come right here, submit a lesson case study button. Just click that. Uh-oh. It's not connected right now, but I'll connect it. And it will take you to a form. I may even have it in here already. Lesson case study. Let's see what comes up. Maybe I don't. There it is. I just need to connect it. Lesson case study submittal. And in here, you'll see the introduction, just to give you a little bit of a framework, and then you'll see the different areas that you would consider as being a good candidate or a good story to share. And then down below, you put your name, email address, whether or not you want attribution. If you want to stay anonymous, just say no. And then a working title. I will adjust it, and I'll probably run it through ChatGPT to make sure it's grammatically correct and as good word usage for our readers. And then just follow the prompts and do your very best, and then I'll combine everything. You could even upload an image or a photo or something like that and then submit it. And that way we could have more and more case studies for instructors to learn from. So if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to let me know. I'm really excited about this resource, and I hope that you will make good use of it. All right, let's go back to our topic. So let me get back there because I navigated away. So I'm going to jump right back to, let me just share my screen again. So here it is. We're going to scroll down and go to Teach Time Smart Teaching. Okay. And we're going to change this so it's a little bigger. Oh, I don't need to share my screen. I keep forgetting. I'm so used to sharing my screen. I'm so sorry. All right. So here we go. Time Smart Teaching is what we're talking about. Now, the idea here is that with teaching, and especially with American Mahjong, because American Mahjong is complex. So teaching this version especially effectively doesn't always require marathon sessions. You can do shorter sessions. You could even teach the fundamentals of the game in 90 minutes, or let's say 2 hours. 2 hours is probably what I would recommend for the fundamentals. But for add-on lessons or power-ups, you could do power-ups in 90 minutes or even 45 minutes. I have done power-ups in 45 minutes with a 15-minute Q&A. So to do that, you've got to have a strategy. A 1 hour class can deliver tremendous value when planned with purpose and paced with intention. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I have a new methodology that you can try. Just know that time smart teaching means knowing what matters most. So you've got to trim your content. You've got to trim your content. Volume does not equal value. So you want your content to be concise, especially if you have a short period of time that you're delivering that content. You got to structure your session for clarity and retention and leave students both informed and energized. So you don't want to pack in too much. Otherwise, you're going to leave them overwhelmed, which is what we do not want to do. We do not want to leave them overwhelmed because then they'll be paralyzed with information. So what is one thing you've learned to stop squeezing into a single session, and why? Would anybody like to share? What is one thing that you try to squeeze into a session, and why? Now, if this is for fundamentals, typically you have an agenda. You got to get through recognizing the tiles. You've got to get through how the blocks work together, how to read the card, how to get started with a dealt hand, and then how to do the Charleston, maybe how to set up the game, roll the dice, break the wall, all those mechanics. And then you finally get to playing the game. So in that type of lesson, you have a plan where you've got to do one step after the other to give them the full idea of what it's like to play the game. But when you do an add-on lesson or a power-up where you're building their skills, so let's say they've already taken that fundamentals class and they want to play the game at a deeper level, you want to give them maybe a core strategy, or maybe you want to work on a specific skill. This is what we're talking about, this kind of a lesson, because that's one where you can pick a topic and you can deliver it in a way that you can fit it into, let's say, 45 minutes and even leave a 15-minute Q&A, or you can do what we're going to talk about in a minute. So I just want to double check and see if anybody had any comment. I don't see any. So when I do my advanced lessons, I do it on the fly. And this takes, you've got to be confident with being able to do that, because if people don't have input, then you're going to have to punt. But the way that I ensure that I will have input is I put up a whiteboard, and then when we do the introductions at the beginning of the session, I ask them to share their name and their top pain point with the game, whatever it is, one pain point, and I write it on the board. And if somebody else has that pain point, I put a tally by it. So we have a list of pain points on that whiteboard, and I let that become my lesson plan. So that's how you would do a lesson on the fly. It's worked for me really well in the past. And incidentally, you can also use that whiteboard as a parking lot. So during the session, if something comes up that is off topic or something that would derail your vision for whatever you've come up with in your mind for the pain points on the whiteboard, you can put that in a little section called a parking lot, just maybe a box, draw a box and call that the parking lot. You can park that topic for either later in the 15-minute Q&A, or you could cover it in a subsequent session. So that is the whiteboard method, or the, let's see, just on the fly method. And again, I would recommend that for experienced instructors. I wouldn't recommend that for new teachers. What we're going to talk about today is for people who are new to teaching. This is going to be a nice structured format where you can just plug and play. So as far as cramming something in, I don't cram anything in. There's nothing, because I wait to see. The way that I've done my lessons is that whiteboard method, where I use their pain points as my lesson plan. So I don't cram anything in, and I don't see anybody who has done that either. So just think about it. If it comes up, feel free to put it in the live stream chat. The next question is, what do you do during a session? Let's say you're doing a 45-minute session with a 45-minute session with a 15-minute Q&A. And let's say that something happens that causes the event or the time to run short. Now, I have had an experience there that I'll share, but maybe, for example, somebody gets stuck with whatever topic you're covering at the moment, and you have to spend a little more time with examples or demonstration or just one-on-one coaching that delays the rest of the lesson plan. What do you do? Do you have a method for adjusting on the fly? What do you do when time runs short? Does anyone want to share about what you do when your lesson plan is impacted? And I'll give you a minute to think about it. I already mentioned one thing to do. And actually, what I'm going to share from one of my experiences, I will just tell you what I did. But I want to make sure that other people have a voice here if anybody else wants to share. And I don't see anybody wanting to share. So for me, I have used that parking lot. To me, that is the best thing to do. And what you can do is, for any, let's say that you weren't able to cover some of the topics or the pain points from some of your students, you could take that pain point, put it in the parking lot, and then note that you'll send an email with how to handle it and maybe a resource for follow-up. So anything that you're unable to cover, send an email. Now that's going to mean that you're going to need their email address. So make sure you have a way for people to sign up, whether you have an email list, whether you have a piece of paper and a pencil, or maybe an iPad where they can use notes and enter their name and email address. You got to get their email. So if you do have to trim your lesson because it got a little derailed, just make sure you get their email address and send them a follow-up for ongoing learning, and then provide some value in there with resources. That's one thing that you could do. Laura says you would send an email after class with an explanation of missing content. Yep, excellent. That's what I would do as well. Okay, so now, would anyone like to share what they would do for, let's say, that 1 hour, a 1 hour beginner lesson where they've already had a fundamentals, like the introduction to the tiles and all those things that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Would anybody like to share an in between the fundamentals and then that next step? Does anyone want to share about their lesson plan for that kind of a session? I'll give you a minute to think about that, and let me know if you have a plan that you reuse. Let's see. Laura also says after class email also includes summary of content. Okay, good. That's awesome. Yeah, reflection for them. They can read that over. So that's wonderful. Good idea. Okay, anybody want to, oh, my hair's crazy. Does anybody want to share what they do for a 1 hour session for beginners who've been through fundamentals? Okay, I don't see anybody sharing, so I'll share mine. What I do is a skill builder after the welcome, and then I frame the session, let them know what to expect for the session. So I introduce myself, and then I frame the day or the session. And then we do a skill builder of some kind. I always have a list of skill builders ready to go. They're on my website if you're interested. If you go to the wiki and type skill builder, you'll find it. So every skill builder is defined, so you'll be able to just plug and play with those. So I pick a skill builder to focus on, and then we do guided play, or gameplay with coaching is what I typically call it, as needed. So I want them to be as independent as possible, because I don't want to tell them what to do. I want to make sure that I'm coaching them instead of teaching them. Once they already learn how to play the game, in a in-between lesson, you don't want to teach, you want to coach, because then that gives them the power. That gives them time to think and apply and verbalize what's going on in their head so that you can help guide them. So there's a, let me see if I have an article in here on the difference between teach, coach, and mentor. I think I have it in the digital library for guild members, but I don't think I have a wiki article on it. Teach, coach, mentor, because there's a difference between these three things. Okay, there's not. So I will make that available to you. If you're not a guild member, I'll put it in the show notes for this episode. So when you teach, you're sharing knowledge. You're sharing something new, a new concept. So you're teaching someone something new. Coaching is when you are asking questions to help them think things through, and then you guide, especially if they are off course. So you guide as a coach. That's coaching. And then mentoring is when you share an experience from your own background. You're sharing your own life experience, what's helped for you, what you've done in the past, what resonates with you, what you aspire to as an example. That's mentoring. For inspiration, it's like an inspiration based on your life experience. So you have teaching, coaching, and mentoring. In this in-between space, after they've taken fundamentals, you want to be coaching. Any questions about the difference between teach, coach, and mentor? Because we wear all three hats. The mentor hat is really good for building rapport. It's really good for helping your students feel that you're approachable. It's a way for you to be relatable. So the mentor role or offering mentorship is important, especially for long-term clients, because you want to build that rapport. Okay, I don't see any comments here. So we're going to move on now to our talking points. We have 5 key talking points, and I'm going to read these because they're short, but they're packed. Okay, so 5. If you're ready, and feel free to write these down, or you could always watch this again because this will be reposted, and you could also follow along in this wiki article or episode notes, show notes. All right, so the first one is, number 1, when you do a short 1-hour session, let's say, you want to plan with intention. Start with the non-negotiables. Ask yourself, what do I want students to walk away truly understanding? Focus on 1 or 2 key outcomes. This will allow you to design a lesson that does not feel rushed, but is complete. So plan with intention. Define the outcome. What do you want them to walk away with? How do you want them to feel after the lesson? And start there. Once you identify that outcome, then you're going to chunk the content. This is step 2. Divide the hour into short, purposeful segments. For example, 10-minute intro, 20-minute demo, 20-minute guided play, 10-minute wrap-up. This rhythm keeps attention high and transitions smooth. So 10-minute intro, 20-minute demo, or you could do a skill builder plug-in here, a 20-minute guided play or gameplay with coaching, is what I call it, and then a 10-minute wrap-up where you can maybe give them a prompt or a reflection and then do a group discussion on what the takeaways are. Then 3, this is a key as you're designing your lesson, avoid overstuffing. This is where volume does not equal value. Depth beats breath. Instead of racing through multiple concepts, go deep into one. Students retain more when they experience a single topic fully than when they skim several superficially. So again, it's not about volume. You don't want to go wide, you want to go deep. Number 4, build in breathers. Leave intentional pauses for recap, reflection, and questions. Go deeper into one topic. Students retain more when they, I just read that. Sorry, stigmatism. Leave intentional small breaks, reset focus, and make the experience more digestible, especially for adult learners. There's a difference between teaching kids and teaching adults. So you want to make sure that you have moments in there where you can query them. Does this make sense to you? Does this feel hard? What feels easy? What do we need to review? So you can maybe pause, and then you could always just shave off a little time in the wrap up if you go off time with a review. And then the 5th segment, or the 5th key point here, is create reusable frameworks. Design lesson templates that can help adapt for different levels or topics. A consistent framework helps you stay organized and makes future planning faster. So find methods where you can follow a framework and then plug in topics and maybe your own toolkit of skill builders so that you can customize it for your teacher's voice and your experience level. And then it will make your lesson planning much easier. So here's a concept. Use the 20-20-20 structure for a balanced 1-hour lesson. Now, before we go into that, does anyone have any questions with the first 5? The first 5 things. Plan with intention, chunk the content, avoid overstuffing, build in breathers, and create reusable frameworks. This that we're going into now, 20-20-20, this is one of those reusable frameworks. I don't see any questions, so here we go. To make the most of limited time, divide the lesson into 3 intentional phases. First 20 minutes, intro and instruction. This is where you welcome everybody and then teach. Lay the groundwork with clear explanations and demonstrations. For example, introduce the Charleston, explain the purpose, phases, key decision points, using visuals or real tiles. Hopefully you're using real tiles in person or online. And then keep it interactive. That's the first 20 minutes. Then the next 20 minutes, do guided practice. Play with coaching as needed. Have the students walk through the Charleston 1 pass at a time. The mock Charleston is a great way to do that. If you don't know how to set up a mock Charleston, look for skill builders in the wiki, and that's described in depth there. So then you're going to coach as needed. Make sure that you're asking questions to help them verbalize so that you can make sure that they understand the purpose and the process of whatever topic you're teaching. Then the next or final 20 minutes would be review and Q&A. 20-20-20. Divide it in thirds. 20-20-20. So there's actually 2 methods in here. Really, it's one method with 2 different timelines. We have the 10-20-20-10 and the 20-20-20. So whatever works for you, either one of these are fantastic. I think the 10-20-20-10, kind of like bookmarks, I think is really good, because I don't think you need 20 minutes. I suppose if you think it through, review and Q&A, you could just chop that in half. But I kind of like bookmarking it. Welcome, reflections, and then 2 20-minute segments in between. One for teaching, one for gameplay with coaching. I would call that the bookmark method, something like that, or bookend method. All right, let's see if anybody has any comments. Does anybody have any comments about the 20-20-20 or the bookend concept. I guess it's a method. It's actually a method or timeline. How do you divide your 1 hour lessons? I leave at least 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. I think 15 minutes is better. So I do 5-minute open and then let's say 10-minute Q&A and a 45-minute on the fly with the whiteboard. That's the way I would do my advanced lessons. And it worked really well for me. But again, that would be for someone who's experienced. I think this bookend idea, 10-minute open, 2 20-minute segments, teach, gameplay with coaching, and then reflection at the end. I think that's ideal for beginner intermediate instructors. And then the 20-20-20, that also is very good. Any thoughts about these two timelines and methods? Okay, I don't see any comments. So I have a few questions here. And then any time remaining, we could do a little Charleston modeling at I Love Maj if you like. I'd be more than happy to do that if we have time. Right now we have 20 minutes left in this segment, this session, this episode, I guess. It's all new, so my terminology is a little off. Okay, so reflections. Which parts of your lessons consistently overrun? That's a good question. And I could share on that. Sometimes the fundamentals lessons will overrun because you're trying to get in everything, the kitchen sink of fundamentals. And sometimes it can overrun because people get stuck. So there are ways though that you can trim time, and I'd be happy to share some ideas with you. I just want to see if anybody else can relate to that. Can anybody relate to overrun in a fundamentals class? Because I do have some suggestions for you. Okay, doesn't look like anybody can relate to that, so we'll move on. Okay, the idea when that does happen, in case you're watching the repost, you trim or streamline. So a trim would be something like when you get to the Charleston and you introduce the Charleston, you explain that it's 2 rounds. The first is obligatory, the second is optional. If everyone's in agreement, you continue with the second. So right across left, then left across right. To save time in today's lesson, we're only going to do 1 round. So that's one way to save time. Another thing you could do is streamline, and that would be just instead of, let's say, doing 2 skill builders, remove 1, do 1, just keep it simple and just do 1 skill builder, or even remove the skill builder and just focus on gameplay with coaching. So you can just streamline, make it super easy, simplify on the fly. Okay, the next question is, how can you make every minute count without making the session feel rushed? Make every minute count without making the session feel rushed. For an add-on lesson, I don't think that would happen because you're doing some kind of skill introduction, maybe a teaching moment, or maybe a skill builder followed by gameplay with coaching, and you're not going to rush a game. So I think the rushing might happen in fundamentals. So the way that you can avoid having students feel rushed is trim. Do the trimming. Another way that you can trim a fundamentals is when you get to the card, explain that there are 10 categories on the card, and due to time, so that you can make time for gameplay, you're only going to focus on 3 categories instead of all 10. that could save time, because they're still going to get the idea of how to decipher the card, because 3 categories are going to have all the colors, letters, numbers, parentheses. Everything is going to be self-contained in each category. So you can just focus on fewer categories, and that will save time so that you won't feel rushed in a fundamentals class. So shave time by minimizing the categories and save time by doing only one Charleston. All right, next would be, which reusable structures could make your planning easier next time? Have you ever used a method or a timeline like the ones we talked about here? The bookend one, 10, 20, 20, 10, or 20, 20, 20? Let me know in the live stream chat or in the comment section below the video if you're watching the repost. If you have any suggestions of timelines that work for you, I would love to hear them. I'm gathering different methodologies and timelines and different ways of doing this for instructors. Laura says, you give a practice card with about 15 to 20 hands from the card in the 5 major categories. So you trim the categories. Okay, excellent. That is a good way to save time. Absolutely. Any questions about today's topic? Time smart teaching. Time smart teaching. I hope that you find these timelines helpful and that the talking points help you. Just remember, the bottom line is volume does not equal value. You don't want to just cram everything in there. You don't have to give everything away in one session. You want them coming back for more, so you don't want to give it all away. And of course, we're always learning, even as instructors, so there will always be more to come. You just don't want to cram too much into one session because people will leave overwhelmed. All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen and let's do a sort of a mock demo of Charleston modeling. I'll share, or I'll role play how I would do a Charleston modeling exercise with beginners. I hope you find it helpful. I'm going to share my screen and let's see. Oh, I know what we were going to do. Hold on a second. Let me know what you would like to do instead. We have 15 minutes. We could either do a Charleston modeling exercise at I Love Maj, or we could create a bookend lesson plan using ChatGPT. Which would you like to do? I'd be happy to do either one. I do the Charleston modeling all the time on my YouTube channel, so you can see that anytime. Would anyone be interested in a demo of how to use ChatGPT to create a lesson plan? ChatGPT, says Laura. Okay. Anybody else? Bookend lesson. Okay, here we go. 2 is good enough for me. All right, so I've got ChatGPT up, so let me share my screen. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Oh my gosh, I did it again. What is wrong with me? Okay. Window. Cancel. Let me put this over here. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, here we go. So here's ChatGPT. So the first thing you want to do, based on our show notes, our episode notes, is you want an outcome. So what do we want our students to walk away with? let's see. The last episode, we talked about the Charleston. So this time, let's say we want, and this is a power up. So this is the in between. We want to take them from fundamentals to the next level. They're already going to have a little bit of training on how to get started. So how to pick a hand. How about, let's see, would a pivot, confidence with pivoting? How about that? Confidence with switching hands, or awareness of when a switch might be a good idea. Pivot awareness. How about that? Confidence with pivot awareness. So this sort of thought process you want to do. You want to just talk it out loud. Actually talk out loud like I just did. Talk it out loud. What do I want my students to walk away with? Okay, I want them to walk away with confidence, with pivot awareness, knowing when to switch hands. So let's type in confidence with confidence in knowing when to switch hands. Okay, so that, let me make this bigger. That right there is our outcome. We want our students to walk away with confidence in knowing when to switch hands. Okay, so I'm gonna type in before that, help or create a lesson plan using what I call a book and method, or bookend timeline, let's say. It's really a timeline. 10-minute welcome. And actually, let's do it this way. Yeah, 10-minute welcome and framing, E period, G period, what to expect from this lesson. This, I think, is crucial because it, especially for adults, that it gives them time to plan in their head what they're going to experience so they know what's coming. So I think adults really appreciate this framing, okay? So I highly recommend it. So we have that. Then we have 10 or 20-minute teaching how to see or how to survey discards and exposures to see how a hand is impacted. This is the awareness point, okay? Then it doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of think out loud, which is what I'm doing right now. So another 20-minute gameplay with coaching as needed, with students focused on situational awareness. And that is just kind of tie it back, discards and exposures. Hand impact. Okay, and then finally ending with 10-minute reflection / group discussion. Okay, so it would be review / okay, now create a lesson plan. Okay, let's see. All with the outcome of confidence in knowing when to switch hands. Okay, create a lesson plan using what I call the bookend timeline. 10-minute welcome and framing, what to expect from this lesson. 20-minute teaching, how to survey discards and exposures to see how the hand is impacted. This is the awareness point. 20-minute gameplay with coaching as needed, with students focused on situational awareness, the discards, the exposures, and that hand impact. Ending with a 10-minute review, reflection, group discussion, a little bit of freedom in there, all with the outcome of confidence in knowing when to switch hands. So you got to tell ChatGPT what you envision, how you want to get there, and ChatGPT will create your lesson plan for you. And incidentally, you're using ChatGPT as an assistant. All this is coming from your head. So this is your content. This is your property, your intellectual property. Just because you use AI doesn't mean that you're stealing from the internet. This all came from my head with us together, okay? So what you give ChatGPT is the more detail, the more boundaries, the more parameters, the more descriptions you give ChatGPT, the more your own voice will be in the outcome, whatever they deliver you. So you want to put in as much detail as possible. So here we go. Any questions before I hit enter? Any concerns? Did I leave anything out? This is the bookend: 10-minute welcome and framing, 20-minute teaching, 20-minute gameplay with coaching, and then a 10-minute review. Those would be the 10-minute bookends with 2 20-minute segments. Okay, so I don't see any concerns. I'm going to hit this button. Let's see what we get. Okay, ChatGPT says, I'll shape this as a lesson plan you can pick up and teach directly, but written in a conversational guiding tone. And this way, see here, so it feels like your voice rather than a rigid script. The arc honors your bookend rhythm: orient, teach, practice, reflect. The emphasis throughout is situational awareness as the key to confidently switching hands. And here's our lesson plan. Oh, it's plugging in something from a previous search, knowing when to switch hands. So if you have history in ChatGPT, it will look at your previous content and pull what you've done before. So it creates continuity from lesson to lesson, which is actually a bonus. So if you've given ChatGPT projects in the past, it will leverage that. And that way too, it's using your own knowledge to create what you're asking for now. So we have the bookend timeline there. The outcomes: students will leave with greater confidence in noticing when their chosen hand is weakening, and how to recognize realistic alternatives based on discards and exposures at the table. That is key for pivoting. Okay, so then stage 1, welcome and framing, 10 minutes. Begin by setting a calm, curious tone. The goal is shared discovery, not pressure to get it right. Let students know they'll be learning how to see more than do at first, more than they do. So learning how to see more than they do at first. Explained that every hand, no matter how good it is at the start, lives in conversation with everyone else doing. So what happens at the table impacts what you're going through. Your hand will be impacted by discards and exposures. Today is about learning to read the tables so they can adapt sooner, more gracefully, rather than clinging to a hand that's been quietly collapsing for the last 6 turns. That's funny. We don't switch hands because we got it wrong. We switch hands because the situation changed. They even put a little quote in here. The skill is noticing the change. Today we're going to practice the noticing. They should understand the lesson focuses on awareness, not memorizing. There's no penalty in reconsidering one's position. They will have guided support during gameplay. Okay, now they should understand. I want to circle back to that, and we're going to go a little longer, so feel free to stick around with me, because I want to bring in Bloom's taxonomy here in a minute. Because this, they should understand, this should be using Bloom's taxonomy, And that will help us get to a syllabus so that we could then promote our event. Encourage everyone to ask questions aloud as they arise. That's going to help bring engagement and energize the room. Curiosity is the skill we're strengthening here. So next, teaching awareness. Shift into demonstration or guided analysis. The goal here is to help them see how discards and exposures affect the viability of their own hand. Start with a model hand, one real, not hypothetical, that has multiple directional options. So basically a randomly dealt tile, and you can point out whether you have a multiple in there, and you could focus on gathering tiles for the multiple, or you can look at the predominant pattern. So there could be easily two different ways that you could take a hand. Then walk through the initial development, the decision making, maybe the mock Charleston for that as an activity. Then bring in a few exposures and discards as the game is unfolding to kind of simulate that. And then you're going to talk out loud. I'm watching for these tiles I need. As they're going down, it's impacting my hand, what have you. And then introduce, is my hand still strong, or is it gaining shape? Is it developing at the rate that I would want it to? So as you can see, I'm paraphrasing my own words because ChatGPT, I don't talk this way. Is my hand still alive and gaining shape, or is it steadily losing ground? I don't talk that way. When I talk about a hand, I say, has there been enough progression in my hand development, or have I lost momentum? So you want to look at what ChatGPT gives you, and then you want to put in your own teacher's voice, your own personality. So you're going to do editing here, and that's how you make it your own. So you're not just going to copy everything from ChatGPT and paste it in a Word document and call it done. You're going to copy it, paste it, and then do editing, heavy editing, so that your teacher's voice is in that final lesson plan. That's really key. Because then you've got to give it, you've got to deliver it. And if it's from ChatGPT, you're going to stumble because it's not in your own voice. So make sure that you plan time for editing. It's really crucial. So next, discuss common cues that signal a hand weakening. 2 or more key tiles exposed by others. That's very good. Opponents repeatedly discarding or holding tiles your hand depends on. That's excellent, especially if it is a pair or single. So you could maybe tweak that a little bit. Your own draws no longer advancing your hand, so you're not getting keepers. That's very good. So then counterbalance, what options remain? Are there common patterns in my hand? So we would edit that in here. Are there common blocks in another category that we could pivot to a totally different category, for example? Where is there still some potential elsewhere on the card? So I would definitely edit that. This is where confidence lives, not in certainty, but in having more than one route forward. And you never know until you get there. One of the things about backup hands is it's a myth. You'll never know until you get there, because you can look at the card and there are backup hands all over the place when you look at the card. But what happens at the table is going to impact that feasibility. You've got dependencies and feasibility to consider, because some of those tiles may already be out. So you've got to make that decision on the fly. That's why this is more advanced. This is more where that in between, from beginner to intermediate or intermediate to advanced. Okay, so now let's go to guided play, guided gameplay, whatever you call it. Have students play one live hand, and with the explicit goal of narrating awareness. How's the hand? Maybe even play open, where they have the tiles open on their rack so they can talk through their decision making. And you could coach them and question them to help them see maybe what they're not aware of. Okay, so Michelle, what do you see on the table that may create an issue for you in the next 2 turns? That might be a good way for them to say, oh, did I miss something? Let me look. And then I'm going to look at there and say, oh my gosh, I need a pair. I have a single and 2 of my tiles are out. I need to start looking for something to switch to. So you want to make sure that you're doing that coaching with a question. You're not teaching here, you're coaching. You're asking questions to help them talk out loud with what's going on in their mind so that you can help guide them. Okay. In I like this. Let's see. Name what they're noticing. That's important. You may ask them reflective questions. That's what I was just sharing. They don't have to make perfect choices, just observed ones. So you're looking for aha moments. You're looking for the aha. Oh, I see. That's what you're looking for. Lifting the veil. That's what we want. So during play, ask short questions. What tiles on the table affect your hand right now? What exposure changed the shape of the landscape for you? What is the future of your hand if you do nothing? Basically is what that is. Does your hand still feel alive? Is there strength in your hand? Has the strength of your hand now weakened because of what is out? Are you losing momentum? If you're going to pivot, where might you pivot to? And when might you pivot? At 60 tiles remaining? So when would be a good question. When do you think that you should pivot? Because if then they say, oh, maybe 50 tiles remaining, no, you want to pivot much earlier. The sweet spot for pivoting is 70 tiles remaining. Your coaching is light and supportive, always returning to the why behind the awareness, because you want to coach them. You want to question them so that they do the thinking. You don't want to do the thinking for them. That's teaching. So that would be the gameplay portion. Then we have the final stage, the last 10 minutes, the bookend. Stage 4, reflection or review, reflection, group discussion. Invite players to talk about what they saw, not what they should have done. Reflection questions like this. What did you notice about your hand over time? Group discussion. What did you realize? When did you realize your hand was improving or weakening? Group discussion. What information was the table giving you? I think that one's kind of weird. I don't think I would ask that. If you were to play in the same situation again, how would you adapt? That's a good one. So you want to come up with some reflections that would apply to any end game. These are good. Another one that's just a good anytime question is, what felt easy for you? What felt hard for you? Those are two go-tos. What felt hard for you? What felt easy for you? Those are really good ones. This is where confidence settles in. The group realized that seeing the shift is the real skill, not predicting the future. That's really good. Close with a simple anchor phrase they can use during games. Is my hand gaining ground or losing ground? I would say, is my hand gaining momentum or is it weakening? When losing, what neighboring hand shares some of what I already have? What are some common blocks I can leverage? Would be more Mahjong language. Encourage them to try that check-in every few turns in their own play. Okay, so that is our lesson plan. So we have a full lesson plan here. I would definitely edit this and tweak it. But what I want to share now, and we'll probably go another maybe 10 minutes, because what I want to do now is take this just a little bit further. I would like to take this right here. I mentioned this before. They should understand this right here. The lesson focuses on awareness, not memorizing outcomes. There's no penalty for reconsidering one's position. They will have guided support during play. That's more framing right there. So these two right here are more about what you want them to understand. So I want to tell ChatGPT to convert that using Bloom's taxonomy. Now, does everyone know what Bloom's taxonomy is? It is a teaching concept for explaining learning objectives and defining outcomes with strong opening verbs along the hierarchy of Bloom's learning journey. So it's understand, analyze, apply, create. So it's a hierarchy of increasing knowledge and awareness. That's Bloom's taxonomy and hierarchy. If you're curious about it, I'll put a link in the video description below where you can learn more about it. It's powerful, especially when it comes to lesson planning and also writing, marketing content, because you want to make sure that you're drawing in the right students. And you can do that by using the right words and descriptions. So here's what we're going to do. Convert this to Bloom's taxonomy and add a third line or a third takeaway, because currently the third what they will understand is more about framing the session than a takeaway. Okay, so sometimes ChatGPT will get it wrong. So you want to make corrections for them. Okay, so we're saying convert this to Bloom's taxonomy, convert this list to Bloom's using verbs from Bloom's taxonomy, and add a third takeaway, because currently the third, what they will understand, is more about framing the session than a takeaway. So then I'm going to paste it in there. This was number 1, this was number 2. I might as well put in number 3 for context. Okay, so now let's see what ChatGPT does this for us. Oops. Okay, here's a revised version that uses Bloom-aligned verbs and shifts these into actual skill-based takeaways rather than framing statements. I'll also add the third takeaway to complete the trio. What? No. Oh, okay, a new one. Okay, so here we go. Here's the reframed learning takeaways. Recognize how discards and exposures signal whether a hand is gaining momentum or losing viability. Now that is describing mahjong. Awareness replaces memorization. Evaluate when continuing with the current hand is no longer strategic, and determine when a pivot might be advantageous. Recognizing one's position becomes a skill, not a setback. It's fantastic. 3, apply these awareness insights during live play, making small strategic adjustments with confidence and composure. Guided support becomes transferable self-trust. So there's our new takeaways. And can you see how much stronger this is, how much more impact there is here? And the reason why I wanted to get this here is now I want to create a student-facing syllabus with these takeaways to draw in the right student for the class. So I'm going to say to ChatGPT, create a student-facing syllabus using the new takeaway list so that I can, or to ensure my, to ensure that the right students sign up for my lesson. Something like that. Create a student-facing syllabus using the new takeaway list to ensure that the right students sign up for my lesson. Okay, so let's see what happens. Now, to be clear, this is for Mahjong players who have already taken a fundamentals lesson and are ready for the next step. Although not quite at the intermediate level. So you want to give them as much information as you can to ensure that whatever the syllabus they give you is going to be such that you're going to be attracting the right students. We want beginner to intermediate, that in-between stage, the tweens. We want the tween players here. So let's see what we get. Here's a student-facing syllabus that sets the right expectations, screens in the right learners, and communicates the lesson as a natural next step beyond fundamentals, but before intermediates. Tone is warm, confident, and grounded in your teaching style. So again, it's looking at my history, so it might do something different for you. Mahjong skills lesson for developing players is the little subline. The prerequisite, they put in a prerequisite here, which is awesome. You have already completed a fundamentals lesson and can comfortably set up, play through a round, call tiles correctly, and read the card. You're building fluency and confidence, not starting from scratch. That is fantastic. You will not get a beginner in your class here, or you will not get a brand new player, let's say, because you will have beginners. There are beginners ready for the next step. Okay, who this lesson is for. This lesson is designed for players who know the rules and the card, but still feel unsure about whether to stay with their chosen hand or switch to another. You might find yourself committed to a hand that slowly falls apart, or you may notice promising alternatives too late. If that sounds familiar, this is your step forward. Here's what we'll explore. Every Mahjong hand evolves in conversation with the table. That I would tweak. That is not how, that doesn't really resonate with me. So I would tweak that. The tiles others expose and discard influence your chances more than your initial plan. That's good. In this lesson, you'll learn to read that conversation, which I would tweak that as well. So you can shift your strategy with confidence without feeling like you've given up your hand. So this needs a little bit of work, but it's pretty good. It's a good starting point. And that's what ChatGPT does for you. It's inspiration. It's fodder. It gives you enough to work with to then make your own. Okay, so here are the learning takeaways that we worked out together. We don't need to reread those because we told it to use them. Here's our class flow. Now this would not be for the student. This would be for the instructor. I would not include that in the syllabus. That's too much detail. You do not want to, and they don't need to know that. So I would cut that out. Okay, now what to bring? Your card. Willingness to observe before acting. Comfort being mid-learning rather than already perfect. I love that. Another one I would add in here is willingness to observe other players' journey or something like that, because there's going to be observation across the table as well. So not only willingness to voice your own thought processes, but willingness to observe what's happening for others at the table. So I would modify that a little bit. I would add and then tweak this so that it becomes 2. Okay, what you do not need prior success in switching hands, advanced study or strategy study, or tournament experience. I think I would I would remove this. I think that this I like right here, prior success in switching. If you have a bulleted list, it should be 3, but advanced strategy, study, and tournament experience, that would just overwhelm people. And I would tell ChatGPT that. I would say you do not need these would overwhelm the level of experience for my desired students. Create 2 more lower level yet inspiring, something that they could maybe aspire to. Do not need to know bullets. So let's see if it gives us something better. So you're going to tell it what you want. If you come across something that doesn't resonate, instruct it. And let's see what it gives us. And that was the end of that. I do like this. This lesson about this is a lesson about clarity, confidence, and awareness, not speed, memorization, or pressure. That is good. That's very good. Okay, so here we go. You do not need advanced studies. Wait a minute, I just told them to take that out. Now I'm confused. You don't need to know every hand on the card. A perfect record of knowing when to switch. This is practice. So I would take these 2 and this 1, which would make 3. Prior success in switching hands, which is kind of like that. I would just come up with another. I'd keep working it, but I don't want to drag this on. Okay, so the very last step that I would do here, let me go up to the top and see. The pivot playbook, learning when to switch hands. Okay, so I would like, let's ask for, because these are from my brand. So if the title and let's say tagline or subtitle are not quite resonating, here's how you can ask for options for titling your lesson. Because you want to make sure that it is signature. You want to make sure that it is you, that it's authentic to you. Because if you use something generic like Mahjong 101, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's all over the internet. It's all over Instagram. It's all over social media. Mahjong 101, Mahjong 102, Mahjong 103. There's no differentiation there. So instead of using those generic labels, give it a nice name, something that rings, something that sings, something that inspires. So I would say, give me, or let's say create, create 6 alternative punchy lesson titles and subtitles or taglines for this lesson. Okay, here we go. Let's see what we get. I think I'm going to make these a 90-minute session. Okay, here we go. Okay, now it's using my history a little bit here. Here are 6 options that speak to skill of awareness and confidence to pivot without sounding advanced or intimidating. Each includes a title and a short, clear tagline. Now, the pivot playbook, that is part of my brand, so you wouldn't want to use that because that would be me and not you. Here, before it's too late. Ooh, that's kind of ominous. How to notice when your hand is losing ground and shift with confidence. That is awesome. It's a little long, but it's that gives me a bit of a chill right there. When to hold, when to change. A practical skill building session on reading the table and adapting your hand. That's good. Seeing the game unfold. Learn to track discards and exposure so you can stay one step ahead. I don't think that's a winner right there. I would let that one go. The art of the quiet pivot. Ooh, that's interesting. Because skillful players adjust early, long before the hand. Ew, I don't like that. Long before the hand collapses. Okay, whatever. I do think what you could do here is maybe the art of the quiet pivot, how to notice when your hand is losing ground and shifting confidence. So look at the whole list and then pick it apart, put it together, and come up with what resonates. Let's just look at this last one. Reading the room, reading the table. Yeah, no, that's not good. But we do have a winner here. The art of the quiet pivot, how to notice when your hand is losing ground and shifting with confidence, and shift with confidence. That would be the title for this lesson. Now I'm going to copy all of this and I'm going to put it into the episode show notes for you so that you can watch this again and review it. Does anybody have any questions? That was a good session. Can ChatGPT suggest titles for a class? Oh, I think we went right into that. So you asked right probably when I said something. Any comments on using, or let's kind of step back a minute. Any comments on time smart lesson planning, the topic for today? Any final comments on that? Are you going to use one of these timelines? I highly recommend that you at least try one and see what it feels like. Do a session with ChatGPT with the bookend or the 20-20-20 and see how it feels. Make sure that you copy and paste into a Word document or a word processing whatever kind of platform you use. Get it off of ChatGPT, paste it somewhere where you could then compose, kind of pick it apart, pick through it, reorganize it, put in your own teacher's voice, your own language, so that it is authentic to you. And since no one has any comments about the actual methodology that we talked about, what did you think about using ChatGPT for lesson planning? Did you enjoy it? I think it's very helpful. It's inspiring. There's some great ideas in here. Really good ideas. I love that quiet pivot. I'm going to use it. So don't use it. I'm going to use it. I'm taking that. You enjoyed walkthrough of using ChatGPT. Oh, good, Mary Teresa. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think it's really fun. It energizes me. It's a lot of fun. ChatGPT is a great assistant. It's your research partner, your administrative assistant that doesn't get a paycheck. All right. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back again next week. I believe we're doing one more episode on lesson planning. We do these in threes. So we are doing 3 lesson planning episodes, and then we're going to move on to, I believe, systems. We're going to talk about some systems in the next 3. So we'll do it in threes, kind of leverage one after the other. And then we'll cycle back. We've got lots of different containers to fill with good stuff for everybody's teaching practice. I hope you found it helpful. All right. Thank you again for hanging out with me today. Please let me know in the comment section below the video if you enjoyed this episode, if you're watching the repost, and if you watch with me live and you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. If we have moderators here, oh, we didn't have any moderators with us today. We were able to keep up just fine. All right, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. Click the little gray bell if you do. That way you'll get notification for when I post new videos, and you won't miss an opportunity to learn a new strategy or pick up an insight to the game that could give you an advantage at the table. Between now and the next video, may all your picks be keepers.